Wednesday night, we're all in sight. 9 o'clock, it's shining bright. Turn the dial and feel the might. Just enough Heshy takes flight. Woo! Laughs and wisdom side by side. Heshy show won't be denied. Tune in live and ride the tide. Feel the rush and feel the pride. It's just enough Heshy. Wanna vote for Heshy? It's just enough Heshy. Join the crowd, it's messy.
Good evening, everybody.
I don't know, the music didn't stop yet. I guess not. Okay, we'll stop the music.
Boy.
Hello, Instagram. Hello, Facebook and YouTube. And hello, everybody. Welcome to another show. Happy Passover.
Yes, happy
And
Passover.
happy Easter to you.
Easter
I have to
is
speak
Sunday.
into the mic more, but the cameras are blocking me, it blocked my thing.
Yeah,
I had a little
it is the
Instagram
thing.
problem as we always have
Yeah,
every week.
you having the last couple weeks, Heshy, you're having a hard
I
time.
know. But we have a lot to discuss.
We do.
And
We do.
we're going to tell you an interesting week and a lot
Yes.
of stuff that's coming up and stuff that is making me happy about our hateful, vicious, rich Letitia. What's her name? The wicked woman?
James, I think.
I think your mic should be closer, right?
We're good.
We didn't do a mic test today.
No, we did. No, we're very good. Letitia James,
Okay.
who though she might be wanting to call herself Letitia Jail Cell now.
I hope so. I can't wait. What she did to Trump, she's going to get it back to. And
Karma.
And also, she also claimed that her main residence is in Carolina or something, so she can get a mortgage. Again, another lie. And you can't lie in a federal document.
Well,
This is a wicked woman.
Yeah.
Thank God she's going to go.
and they've wanted her to be governor in the past. Could you imagine the thought of this woman who's already our attorney general that could have been a governor?
Wow, thank God. And that other idiot, what's his name again? The advocate?
Jumaane Williams?
I think he has term limits, right?
He's got one more term to run for. We got one more term
We
with
got to
him.
deal with that wacko
Yep,
again?
yep.
And then he's going to run for mayor.
And between that and Crackamo, as you call
Right,
him,
so if Adams wins, then I think he can run. If Adams loses, then he's not going to run because Musabi will be Cuomo
Well,
for 2 terms. Maybe 3 even.
I think Cuomo's going to try to run for president. If Crackamo wins, as you call him in your words, if Crackamo wins, I think 2028, Cuomo is going to try to position himself to run for
he's
president.
only coming in for mayor for 2 years to waste our time and the tens
If
of
you
millions
look
of
at
dollars?
every New York City mayor that we've had in recent memory, aside from Adams, has tried to run for president. Giuliani, Bloomberg, and de Blasio.
Right. Oh, God. That was a
De
joke.
Blasio,
of a
I know.
joke.
That was really, that was sad,
fun.
but they were in.
I don't even think he got not even 1%.
Well, Bloomberg spent like $100 million to win like one delegate or something like that.
Who was before that? What was the mayor
Giuliani.
before that? No, before Giuliani.
Dinkins, no.
Dinkins didn't run.
No.
Well, he was such a
But it was,
bad mayor.
wow, yeah, but it was Giuliani, Bloomberg, and de Blasio or de
The only thing is,
Blasio.
before Dinkins, Koch, I was hoping that he would become.
Well, Koch tried to run for governor.
governor.
He ran for governor, and he lost to Cuomo, and that was, good point.
We're going to talk about the show.
Yes,
we're
we
going to
are.
talk about a bunch of different items about New York City, and of course, we're going to talk about my favorite president, Mr. Trump. And we're gonna
I thought you were going to say Biden for a minute.
Yeah. I was watching some of Biden's old videos.
I see he's
and I
back
was
out
like-
there again.
I know that. He's saying Trump is messing up the country. I can't believe he got 2 words out of his mouth.
So they brought him out. So they brought him out from the basement.
I don't think he came out of the basement. I think he did it out from the basement. I think we're at the 5-minute mark.
We have another
Sure.
minute or two.
We have another minute or two?
Another minute or two. Yep.
But I have a wonderful joke today.
All right, let's
I have
go
2
for it.
jokes. One
Two?
about me and one about my granddaughter.
Okay,
So that's good. I want to tell you about Passover.
let's do that.
I had Passover at my son's house.
Okay.
And everybody's going to say, oh, did you have a wonderful time? The answer is no. It was terrible.
And you sure you want to let us know that?
I know. He must be listening to the show. But usually he's busy on his telephone or sleeping, so who cares what he says?
This might be the show he listened. It's Passover week. Everybody's with the family.
He's the producer. He has to listen to the show.
Well, he'll be listening to this.
I think he's getting up to shut us off already.
Yeah.
He threatened with his finger. Anyways. I have a recipe I sent him. I made this new pineapple chicken cooked in pineapple.
Okay.
That you don't have to fry. And I gave it to him in the recipe, and I want him to post it on the screen. You're going to love this recipe.
Wow.
You're going to love it. It's very easy to make.
Just enough pineapple for you?
It's not just enough pineapple. But we're going to do that. And I want you all to understand that I am running for city council.
Yes.
Our signatures are in. The objections are back. Avram has won the district leader party nomination. Now, he might get Mr. Collar off.
Yeah.
Mr. Collar called me crying about it.
Mr. Collar, he just... a man who running for state senate,
and he said to me, Heshy, he's being appointed by Mr. Barsimi.
Another
I
loser.
want to tell you why. He told me. He tells me
all
the
right,
whole
talk
story.
about these two losers.
Are we on the air with the radio? Let's
We're
welcome
about to be on, so we'll say hello in the meantime. We're about 30 seconds away, but we'll say hello to our friends in, of course, beautiful Miami, Florida, WJPR 1640. Also want to say hello to our friends on WNEW 1027 FM, the legendary WNEW, of course, famously known as a rock and roll station, and of course, our flagship station, WSNR 620 AM, and also TalkLineNetwork.com. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in.
Welcome to all our live listeners that joined us. And I want you all to know that Mr. Collar called me and said, Heshy, why did you object to my signatures? What are you doing? I said, listen, not only am I getting you off the district leader, not only did we win the nomination, but your signatures were no good. You laughed. Plus, you voted against me. He said, I want to be senator. I said, that's not a problem, but you didn't have to vote against me. And you knew we were going to lose.
So that's a qualification to be for Senate, to actually vote against your party's nominee?
Barsimian told him that you have to vote against Heshy. And he made him collect signatures for Sawyer, Radin, and Felder. I said, I understand. You promised you weren't going to collect for Felder. You promised you were going to support me as the Republican. Instead, you supported the Democrat.
But here's my thing.
So when he says to me now that Heshy, that you're the official Republican nominee, I support you. I said, it doesn't work like that.
No.
You can't pick a Democrat over me because you wanted to be senator. And you're not going to win because I'm going to support your Democrat guy. He says, you can't vote. You're a Republican. How do you support a Democrat?
And he just did that.
I said, you just did that.
And he did it 2 years ago also against you.
His signatures are terrible.
Yep.
He says, I'm going to defend it. I said, we have money. We did it in a smart way. I have a team. You're going to cost you to be a district leader $50,000 in court when I'm finished with you. And you think I'm done with you? He says, Heshy, we should make peace. I said, peace.
But here's what I would say
I was
also.
friends with him.
I know.
I helped him.
You've known him for a long
I
time.
helped
But
him with his clients, and he went against me.
But if you're going to be a state senator, you have to make everyday life-impacting decisions. So he couldn't make a decision that was best for the community by supporting you, but instead he listened to a paper chairman, another individual who only backed...
And he threatened him. He says, Richie Barsimian threatened me that you must...
His name's not Richie, by the way. It's Dick Rand.
Dick Rand.
Dick Rand. Yeah, Dick Rand. Call him Dick Rand going forward.
I'm going to from now on.
Dick Rand Barsimian. And speaking of which, another thing on Nachman Caller, not Call Caller, Nachman Caller, if he was so forceful on that, he should tell Sawyer Radin, right? Sawyer Radin to drop her objections to some of your slate's petitions.
We objected to Sawyer, which I don't think her signatures are good, and she objected to Tehila, and they're so dumb. They don't even know how to fill out the paperwork or send the proper service. That's how dumb she's. Everybody's saying she was funny on your show. You know why she was funny? Because she was busy watching her telephone and she made a comment every once in a while.
But these are the people that run the Republican Party in Brooklyn. They're only good at endorsing Democrats. That's what they're only good at endorsing Democrats. Their own petitions, they don't know how to collect them. The people that collect the petitions work at the
nobody would ever.
And they work at the Board of Elections.
You know this guy David Spinzvelli?
Yeah, he's a bum. He's a bum.
He comes to meetings with me. He begs me to talk to him, and all of a sudden I find out.
A Board of Elections worker who, by the way, was he collecting all those signatures and working in all of these?
This is a guy who works for the Board of Elections, and he went out for my competitor, and he always comes to meetings with me. We went out to dinner, always says he's going to support me. Instead, he supports my competitor.
And what he was probably doing was going back to Dick Rand to talk about you so Dick Rand could go back to Simcha
Right.
Felder and Kalman Yeager.
He gets my secret information, and
Yep.
then he goes back against
Yep.
me. This party needs to be changed. So, am I a Republican? The answer is yes. Do I support these losers? The answer is
Hell no.
Right.
Hell no.
I just don't like the Democratic ideas, and a lot of Democrats have been switching over. I want to give shout out to my beautiful granddaughter Mira Nava,
Yep.
who I'm going to say a joke about, Layla Tamar, and Benjamin Hill. They're in Brazil right now.
Wow.
Yeah. They're only an hour ahead of us.
Okay.
And my
Obrigado.
my other two grandchildren that I hung out with are Hoover. She's so cool. She just became 1 year old. She's like the coolest little girl you ever seen on the planet. And my grandson Yeshua, who's talking, and now first we couldn't get him to talk. Now the boy doesn't shut up for nothing. But he's very good, and he sings with me the songs. I love when he sings the monkey jumping on the bed. I just love it, And of course, my daughter-in-law Rayleigh, that's gonna have a baby any day.
Congratulations.
And Sergeant Peter and Ellie, welcome. I love you both. I want to start the show with a nice quote.
All right.
And my quote is, at any given moment, you have the power to say, this is how the story is going to end. You have a way to change your life. You have a way to stop it. You have a right to live in the moment. This is it. This is the way you fix it. You want to cry about the past? That's fine. But right now is the present. And I have a way to end the story. Everybody says to me, you lost Heshy, you lost the election. Another one? Yeah, I'm going to try to change it. Right now, Simcha Felder is their councilman. You have 7 months with this guy. Yeah. Go ahead. Let's see. You know how I was complaining about people not supporting me?
Yep.
So I have this client. Jeffrey, I don't want to say his last name.
Okay.
They have a building on McDonald Avenue, and they couldn't get it approved. They almost knocked down the building. I helped him for free.
Sure.
I saved him. He's doing work. I recommended him other people. And every time he's in trouble, he comes to me. The last time he came to me, his father's building was dead. So I said to him, I gave him an idea how to get the building moving along. And I charge him a small $1,000 fee to put it together to get him to the right people.
Right.
He then hires another architect, pays him double the money that I was going to charge him, screwed me. Then he came back to me. Has she helped me? Again, I gave him a price. He paid me a third, and then he disappeared. Fighting with him, and he called me every day. I finally got him approved. He gave me $2,000. I said, you're not fair. So he disappeared completely. I don't have money, blah, blah, blah. And I know he's selling buildings and all that.
Yeah.
He called me this morning at 6 a.m. Heshy, I'm in trouble. I said,
Uh-oh.
don't care. I'll pay you in full. I'll pay you up the past. I said, that's fine, but I'm never doing work with you again. He says, but I'm going to pay you. I said, I don't work for people that cheated me or lied to me. But Heshy was at my father's will. I said, you took responsibility. You begged me. I told you I didn't want the job. You wasted my time. I don't do that. So if you want to take in guys who screw you or mess around with you or tell you they're going to support you and then don't at the end of the day, that's fine. I'm now the official Republican nominee. There's another guy, Weisselberg, running against me, but I think we got him off the ballot.
We're going to find out, obviously. We're hopeful.
Yeah. So if he's off the ballot, I'm the official Republican nominee in June, which will meet Simcha Feld in November.
Yes.
And I'm going to run, I'm hoping, because me and Simcha spoke, and I'm hoping that we both stick to the deal, that we won't talk bad about each other, and his people won't, it's not going to happen. And I won't talk about him. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing, what I can do, and how I can help the people. Anyways, HeshyTishler.com. It's not on your screen, Instagram, but everybody else's screen. HeshyTishler.com. I need to raise money still for this round 2. I'm almost there. I have to pay Tom. Tom doesn't work for free.
Well, we'll have to. Monopoly money will work.
By
for
the
now.
way, we are on the independent line. We're going to be on the independent line.
We started circulating for that yesterday.
What is our name of our new party? We call it Trump MAGA Party?
Yes, that's what we are.
So we are as a Republican.
Basically, Team Trump is last time.
Right. It was Team Trump last time. Didn't work out. So now it'll be Trump MAGA Party. We're going to be Republicans, and we're going to be an independent line, while Mr. Felder has the conservative line and the Democratic line. And you see what he did was, he didn't knock off his competitor, who should have never been on this. She doesn't even have enough signatures, but he didn't knock her off so he can get matching funds from the city. This is a rich man who just sold his house for $1.5 million.
And has a campaign committee still open for the state senate.
Right, with $600,000, and he's now trying to collect more money.
And was recently, up until about 2 months ago, still from his government account with the state senate, sending out direct mailings.
This guy is not, but you know what? I'm not going to talk bad about him.
Okay.
And I want you to know, so this girl, Durchin, has no chance. She says to me, I spoke to her, she's going to go door to door to all of Simcha Felder's people, which is only 1,000 people, tell them to vote for her. I mean, this girl has no idea where she whatever. I feel bad for her, but you know what? Good luck to her. I hope she beats him.
If that's going to be an election,
yeah,
who knows?
I mean, Simcha Felder spent tens of thousands to get me off the ballot, and he couldn't. Anyways,
No.
I want to tell you a funny story.
Okay.
As I told you, you must change your smoke detector.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my smoke detector about 3 weeks ago started to beep. Beep, 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 beep. So I climbed up, I unscrewed it, and it's hardwired, and I took out the batteries.
And that was...
And I put in new batteries.
Okay.
Clicked it back up. Beep, 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 beep. All night long beeping me, and I'm scared to disconnect it because in case there's a fire, I push the button, it works. Sure. So finally I go, and I need to find, because the clip in the plate is very hard to change, I finally found a matching smoke detector. And I couldn't understand why the first one went. And then when I took it off, I read that the smoke detectors within itself have a shelf life. They're not forever. This is not understandable. It's a mechanical device that never goes off, and it just dies. It's a game how you have to buy new smoke detectors. Even though we get a lot of them from donations and we're giving them away for free, I bought mine.
Okay.
I bought a smoke detector and a carbon dioxide detector. So I go up, I take off the old one, I put in the batteries in the new one, I put it back into place, wired it beautifully, fine. Nothing happens for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
I sit down, beep, beep, beep. What the hell? What's wrong? Linda says, you don't know how to change a smoke detector. So finally, I call my friend Nachman, and he comes over, and he brings this guy, Tom Heshy. He disconnects it, he puts it back together again, he says, you'll have to buy another one that's defective. I said, it's not possible, it just came out of the box. Okay. We're sitting there, and I said, and he doesn't ring. He says, you don't know what you're talking about. And all of a sudden, beep, beep, beep. And we're looking up, there's no way it's beeping, it's still green, we don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Finally, he says, the beep is not coming from there, it's coming from somewhere else. And next to the smoke detector is the bathroom. And I left the old smoke detector on the counter, I didn't pay attention. And that kept beeping, beeping, beeping. I'm an idiot. So I took out the batteries, I broke it, and I threw it in the garbage.
I thought you were talking about maybe last week's guest that was lurking around, which was your nephew. I thought maybe that was the one that was beeping.
No. But my real funny joke is, and how come he didn't make for laugh? That was funny.
I laughed.
I know, but he doesn't have to laugh.
Because he's mad about what you said at the beginning of the show.
No, he's not
him.
paying attention to the show.
No, you talked about the pineapple juice with the chicken, and then you talked about he may not like it, and then maybe he's listening, and then, you know.
So he better laugh at this joke.
Okay.
I was sitting with my 6-year-old granddaughter. We're going through pictures in the album of the family.
Okay.
And one of the pictures of me when I was a young kid, I went to Israel and I became a volunteer for the summer. And
very nice.
To do some work in the kitchen.
Very nice.
And she sees me, and I had the outfit on, you know, the volunteer outfit.
That's nice.
The soldier outfit.
Gotcha.
And she says to me, looking at the picture, she says, big age, Grandpa, in my military uniform, did you ever kill anyone in the war? I said, no, baby, I never did. And she says, that's a good thing. I said, you're telling me I was the cook. Please laugh at that joke. Please don't make me throw something at the door.
Oh, well, that was like half.
By the way, David Spinvelli lives at 501 Surf Avenue. He's an idiot. I'm telling you all.
Yeah, he's a guy that was a dive candidate against William Colton last year. He's moved around districts. He's what they would call in politics a stooge. Basically, somebody that does, if Dick Rand tells him to go fetch him coffee, he has to do it. If Dick
Rand, again, is the chairman of the Republican Party.
Quote, unquote, the chairman of the Republican Party. Really, the chairman of what the Democrats tell him what to do and what the conservatives tell him what to do. So really, they're not. There's no Republican Party in Brooklyn, but it doesn't make a difference.
I'm going to continue doing what I got to do. But by the way, I want to put up on the screen, and I want to tell everybody in my world before we start the show that while I was cooking on Passover, I found this beautiful recipe. You know how you have to fry chicken and you make a mess and the oil and then throwing away the oil and it's dangerous and all that. So I want him to put it up on the screen. That'll be for you, Facebook and Instagram, whatever. And I think the Instagram fans are not going to see it. Then maybe later. This is a recipe I want you to write down. If you want, you can email me.
JustEnoughHeshy@gmail.com.
JustEnoughHeshy@gmail.com. What I did was I took, usually you do the chicken, wings or the little chicken and legs, the itty bitty ones.
Yep.
What I did was I had to feed a lot of people, so I took chicken drumsticks.
Okay.
And, you know, for a grown man, you got to eat 3 or 4 pieces.
Sure.
What I did was I took the pineapple juice and I poured it into a frying pan.
Okay.
Then I took the chicken and I filled it up with chicken legs. But I didn't fill up the frying pan. I only filled it up like halfway or a cup and a half.
Okay.
Then what I did was I took I kept mixing it up so the pineapple juice should cook into it.
Okay.
Until the juice is pretty much soaked up or evaporates.
All right.
Then I take about a cup of 3 or 4 garlic cloves, and my family likes it. I take 5.
Okay.
And I poured it in there when almost all the pineapple evaporated, and it keeps the chicken soft and moist as well. And when you see it turning brown, with just pineapple juice, no oil, no frying, no nothing. Took a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of paprika, a half tablespoon of black pepper. I put in a whole one, and then I put in a half a cup of water. And I mix it up again. As it starts to evaporate, I throw in a little bit of soy sauce. Then for the taste, I put in a tablespoon of mustard, a tablespoon of ketchup, and a tablespoon of honey to mix out the taste. Then you cook it again, and you cover it for 15 minutes. You mix it up 15 minutes. When you open it up and take it out, you can serve it with rice, with beans. I made a salad, a special salad.
Very cool.
Again, you can email me for the salad recipe.
Yes, and it's up here on the screen.
It came out so
now.
delicious. It didn't really have a pineapple-ish taste, but it had a little bit of a sweet taste and a little bit of not a bitter taste. I'm telling you, this is one of the best recipes I ever did, and you can get it right on the first try.
Wow. Well, you know what? Sounds like you might be doing that a lot more often.
Yeah. Oh, I am. I'm going to practice some tonight again.
Make sure you get some for yourself, though.
I'm not going to give for soy. Yeah, I did leave myself 2 pieces. They were really good.
And don't give soya.
And you can do it with chicken legs or chicken wings, anything you want. It's simple. The whole process shouldn't take you more than a half hour. I buy kosher chicken legs, so they cost maybe about $15 to get about 11 of them. Okay. But they're not kosher ones you can buy for half the price.
Well, kosher ones might be actually better because they're more cleaner.
More clean, right? And then you make a salad for a family of 4, you buy yourself 11 chicken legs. Okay. Each guy gets 2 or 3 pieces.
That's a good meal.
And then you have a salad that you make, a cheap little salad on the side or rice. Wow. And for $20, you can feed 4 people instead of going out to Wendy's or Kentucky Fried Chicken or one of our kosher.
How about Essen?
Essen, I'm sorry, is delicious. I just love their corned beef and their joint. I'm sorry, I like Essen. Anyways, I am the official nominee, maybe, or I'll go get Weisselberg. Avram is going to be the official nominee for the district leadership, but I think we'll get Carla off. Soya is challenging my daughter-in-law, Tehila. We're trying to get her off. So the Tishlers are here.
And Soya is being challenged as well. It's a great point, because Soya, who we think we can knock Soya off as well.
Not only can we knock off, she doesn't pay rent. She gets evicted. She actually lives at a different address that she actually filed for, where she lives at. She lives with her new husband, ex-husband, whatever it is, on 17th Avenue, and she actually has herself registered at a different address, which she doesn't reside at. But okay, whatever.
State of the Republican Party in Brooklyn. That's what I think.
Let's start with talking about Donald Trump.
Okay.
As you know, Donald Trump was found guilty on $454 million in fines. Yep. And then found guilty of doing false paperwork by Letitia James and her crew with Brad over there. Yeah. Now, Letitia James now is being recommended by the Trump and the Attorney General for what's the exact wording on this? Fraud.
Mortgage fraud.
Mortgage fraud. And I want to tell you what her mortgage fraud is.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Letitia James may be charged with wire fraud involving scheme to defraud using electronic communications, bank fraud pertaining to defrauding financial institutions, false statements to financial institutions covering knowingly making false statements to banks or credit unions, each up to 20 to 30 years in prison if she's convicted. Yeah. She's toast. Now, this crazy Letitia, she went after Donald Trump for no reason.
She went after, she had a reason. Her reason was she wanted to increase her profile to either run for mayor or most especially governor, because she was the attorney general, which basically we know from the past. The last governor before Kathy Hochul was Andrew, you call him Cracamo. He was attorney general. The guy before him, quote unquote, was Elliot Spitzer. Yeah. What did he also have in common? He was the attorney general. Letitia James definitely had a motive. Her motive was she wanted to move up the political ladder. And what was a better way for her to do that? By going after...
come back. Look at, what's his name again? The councilman. What's his name again?
Wiener.
Wiener. out in mayor.
But
and
what she
back.
was doing going
Cuomo, out in, and we're taking
No,
back. We're
I agree.
recycling these
But-
idiots.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. But what she was trying to do in going after Trump for all those years was position herself to be that person, to
Yeah.
be
I
the
thought she
leader of
had
New
something.
York. But
Well,
she
all I know is Cuomo missed out on $4 million in matching
Yep,
funds
he
because
did.
his paperwork is sloppy. This is a man who's run for office, so you know that he's done crooked things when he was
And he
governor.
put out a press release where he actually misspelled names. He put out a plan for housing, 500,000 new
Yeah, he has
units,
no idea how to
with
pay it.
actual no way to plan to do it, way to plan to pay for it, and no actual plan to
and
design
now they're
them.
upset that Mayor Adams is working with the president
Yep.
because they're putting ice on
Well, the
Rikers Island.
in the city council, I think, is trying to fight the mayor on that.
But I
and-
understand you can't keep doing these things that the city has to run. You know, like they want to stop the deportation and border control.
Yep.
The Supreme Court cannot rule on it. You have to go through a regular judge. That's why they went to a regular judge.
Yeah.
Who ordered against it. Trump told them to drop dead, and then they got overturned. And it's a waste of money. Now you're going to the Supreme Court to rule on something. The Supreme Court is supposed to rule on legislation that's in effect, not court cases every 2 minutes.
Well, yeah, I think if you
or
want,
they're supposed to overturn something.
I agree with you, and this to me is for both parties. And you know, when you went to school in college, like I took law in college, is that the Supreme Court was only really supposed to be active.
Constitutional law.
Yes, but only, and for very few cases they were. Now what's happened is the Supreme Court has almost become another branch
Yeah.
where it votes and decides on things. Yes, it's a part of our country, and like you said, our Constitution. But now the Supreme Court, it's like every other day, they're deciding on what happens. It shouldn't be that way.
I know. Like now they're deciding on not deporting illegal aliens. Some of these aliens, these Venezuela gang members, they're murderers. Not one murder. I understand.
Yeah, we talked
I
about
don't
this last week on
understand
the
one
show.
murder. But they're murdering 30, 40, 50 people, and the courts are stopping them. Now they arrested a bunch of 19-year-olds. Too bad. These are murders. You know, they went over to the Prime Minister of Canada, and they're saying to them, why are you locking up these guys? It's not their fault. He says, they're committing 50, 60 crimes. He says, it's not their fault that they're committing these crimes. He says, 50, 60 times? Of course you deport them. Now, if somebody from America commits a crime in another country, you're right. In America, we can't lock them up. But if we have a deportation process with you, then we're going to send them back to you. If we don't have, what's it called again, extradition treaty, then you're right, we don't send them back. But if these guys are committing murder and crimes and raping and murdering, get rid of them.
Well, you know what I heard?
And El Salvador says we're not going to send back the guy.
No.
We're not. You know why you're not sending back the guy? Even if they send him back to America, he goes into a deportation or holding facility.
Yeah.
So what are you gaining exactly over there? At least he's free.
But did you hear the idea? I think it was yesterday. And I thought it was so interesting that Trump was almost considering taking, let's say, our criminals who've been arrested 20, 30, 40, 50 times and sending those criminals to the other world's jails. You know,
You should.
I think that's a great idea.
Murderers.
But some people are like, oh, well, you know, again, going back to what you talked about, you know, in the courts
Trump,
and
by the way,
Constitution.
Trump has deported 1.2 million people over his last presidency.
Yeah.
Truman, I think 1.5.
Okay.
Okay. Clinton was like 1.8. Biden was somewhere on there 2 million. And I think Obama was 3 million people he deported.
I did remember hearing about that.
And you're complaining about Trump. He's doing exactly what the other guys did. And I want you to know what
And
Trump
you
is.
noticed all those names you mentioned were all Democrats.
Yeah.
All Democrats. All Democrats.
And I want to tell you one more thing. What I hear, I'm just hearing this.
Yeah, what are you hearing?
Trump has found a $151 trillion fund. I mean, did you hear about this?
Well, Heshy, have you put your hand
It's
out?
161. No, but if he releases it back to us,
Yeah.
we can pay off our debt, and Americans will be rich.
Well, that's what I think
And also,
he's trying
the tax
to do.
cuts. There was a Democrat I was watching the video screaming in Congress, no, I don't want to approve tax cuts for Americans. It's going to hurt us. Are you crazy? You're approving the biggest tax
Well,
cuts ever, and he's saying, no, I don't want to approve it. Why won't you approve tax cuts for us? Why?
Because they don't. What they want to say is that the Republicans are for the rich only. They want to say that the tax cuts don't benefit anybody. You know, you talked about the debt also, and the debt's, you know, they're trying to say, well, it's not going to do anything. It's going to only make the debt go up, and you know, all these different things. But eventually, and it goes back and it frames, even going back to our discussion on tariffs last week, whether you agree or not agree with some of these plans, we do have to do something to deal with our nation's problems. You talked about, obviously, right now with the working class and how they need some kind of break from inflation. Well, we should have some tax cuts.
Yeah.
But also right now, we do have a serious problem with the debt. And I think every president
It's going to hurt us.
Yeah.
And that's why the prices are going up. You know, I want to show you what red tape is and blackmail. I love
us.
President Trump,
Yes.
and his plane was supposed to land at an airport.
Okay.
And Spirit Airlines was flying into the airport. They called in. They said, it's an emergency. I must land the plane because I have a heart on the plane that has to go to a dying person.
Okay.
No. The president comes first. He says, the president will understand that I have to save a life, and I don't need to, I can land. The president's not arriving yet for a while. No, if you land, we're going to arrest you. He says, I'm willing to go to jail to save somebody's life. As the plane landed, he didn't listen to the tower. They said, you know, we're going to arrest you. He says, no problem, but I saved a life. Tell that to the president. This is red tape, stupidity.
Yeah.
You know, like another idiot, Miss Crockett from the, I think, Senate or the Congress.
The House, Texas, Jasmine Crockett.
She's screaming, and she has witnesses there, and she's saying to the witnesses, who shot up all the black people in a church in whatever, I forgot what it was, in some North Carolina?
Yeah.
Who made the shooting killings in Texas? Who shot up the school in Connecticut?
Yeah.
So they said it was not illegal aliens.
Sandy Hook.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I got that. You can't blame everything on the illegal aliens, but you can't get them off the hook because some other.
But I'm
crazy
glad you
person-
brought her up because you know how you talked about a few minutes ago about Letitia James and how a hypocrite she is. Well, Jasmine Crockett's another hypocrite because it came out last week and that was something I don't think we got a chance to talk about because it was in my notes. I remember looking at it. She pledged she would take not a single donation from any corporation, any business, and it turned out Jasmine Crockett took millions in donations, nearly
wow.
millions of
Shocking.
dollars.
Don't shock me.
But and what's another thing she has in common? She's a Democrat. A Democrat, so she's another hypocrite. She talks and says one thing and does another.
Obama, who almost declared bankruptcy before he became president, I just want you to know.
Okay.
He has an $8.7 million house in Hawaii. Okay, nice. He has an $8.1 million house in Washington, in D.C.
Okay.
He has a $12 million house in Martha's Vineyard. Now, I understand. First of all, just because you have these houses, you know what it costs to upkeep and taxes.
The salary of a United States president. You said Obama.
It's $400,000 a year.
I think it's like a little under 3.
Oh,
but
no, it's 400. I think it's 400 or 450.
Okay, let's even go with your analogy. Let's go with 450, right? You just told me.
And he has to pay taxes.
You just told me and the listeners who are listening to this on the radio and also watching this right now that Obama, before he got elected as president, was near bankruptcy.
Near
correct?
bankruptcy.
So you just told me now, since then, we're now 16 years later, that he owns not one, not two, but 3 significant multi-million-dollar homes. So my question is,
8 years after you left the presidency.
and my
It's
question
not
is,
possible.
how did he get this?
Right.
So how is
I
he
don't know.
able to afford to pay these homes? You can't do that on a $400,000 salary. Okay, Michelle's working. Even then, it adds it to what, 700,000? So how is that possible? Who paid for
I
that?
don't
What
know.
donor paid for that?
Same way-
What favor?
Same
What
AOC.
favor?
She's worth already, what is it, $20 million? A bartender who was...
She got $9.6 million in campaign contributions this quarter.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I call her? OD. You said she call her AOC. Well, I call her ODOC because she's always out of district OC.
Under her thing, you think crime is down. Bronx crime is up. And I want you to know they just found $500 million coming in cocaine.
Yep.
Now, do you understand that's uncut? Then by the time they finish fixing it up with baby powder and other garbage, it's going to be worth about $10 billion in sales.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're going to make sure they do what
And
they
you
can.
know how much fentanyl is coming into this country? Even though we shut the border down, it's cutting down. Do you
Terrible.
know that fentanyl is like salt? 5 little droplets of that fentanyl salt can kill you.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the biggest killers in this country.
Yeah, I read a story
And it's
about
just
a
coming
few
in
days
and
ago.
pouring in. Yeah. I'm just telling you, we're not controlling the war on drugs. We're not controlling the war on immigration. And you're too busy with crying to us about what? Trump being to impeach him?
Because some people just they know that they can't win on the truth. They know that they can't win on the truth, which is why we need a Brooklyn First agenda. Heshy Tisha will give us that in the city council.
But,
we need an America First agenda.
We just want to recycle our politicians.
The same people.
Like Carmen Yeager. I have no idea what he's doing in the assembly. The man doesn't know any
I don't even think
legislation.
he knows. And I'm glad you brought that up because the New York State budget is still due. It's almost now 3 weeks
When he was
late.
councilman, he didn't know what to do with the
But
budget.
now he's in the assembly and he's supposed to have been in there. He's going to do all these things. What's he done? All I see him doing is posing for photos and praising Ina Vernikov. Right. And 16 days late now is our state budget. And we talked about it a couple times here on the show.
That causes us interest payments to our people in the billions of dollars.
And no end in sight.
Yeah.
And he has no voice in it. He's saying nothing about it. What's the point of electing these people? Right. Somebody should definitely run against Kalman Yeager next year.
I know.
Somebody should definitely.
We had Nachman Kalla. But Nachman Kalla, he was appointed in a Republican district to be it, and then he stepped aside because scared of Carmen Yeager? Scared of the Republican Party?
I think Dick Rand called and said,
give it to the Democrat.
Dick Rand said give it to the Democrat.
Because he wanted to get a bribe. And Carmen Yeager, Nachman Kalla does pay. Nachman Kalla gives money to Richie Barsimian, which I'm hoping they objected to his signatures and they get him off. But they say he might make it because his signatures, even though how bad they were.
Well, he controls the Board of Elections. He's going to make the ballot. Let's be honest. So that's that's all it's about. But yeah, listen, Donald Trump won that district that Kalman Yeager runs in. Somebody should run against him. He's done nothing for us.
While we're still on the subject of Donald Trump,
let's talk about it.
I'm so proud that he's cutting $2.1 billion in grants or funding to Harvard.
Yeah, I heard.
And Harvard's going to lose their tax-exempt status. Thank you. And Harvard says, we don't care.
And I heard $400 million with Columbia was already cut.
Yes.
$400 million.
Oh, they're standing up. Listen, you guys I'm watching a video how guards were blocking them from coming in there. You're allowed to demonstrate, but not in violence. And you're supposed to do a peaceful demonstration. And not supposed to say kill the other person. You're supposed to fight a policy. Not say kill the Jews or burn America or burn the American flag. That's wrong. They should. And another 2 people are now being ostracized or going to be arrested. And they're saying January 6th. No. January 6th was something that and I heard about it. That I was watching Kash Patel. He was in charge over there. He says, we asked the mayor if you want our military guard. We asked the person in charge of the Capitol security. They told us, no, you'll see it in declinations, you'll see it in writing. They knew something was up.
Absolutely.
They set it up. January 6th was a fake. I wasn't sure. And you know what?
What?
I'm watching on television. Mm-hmm. You're not going to, I believe this, and it bothers me. This bothers me a lot because I was around then.
Okay.
September 11th?
I remember very well, September 11, 2001. And obviously from where we are in our studios, we're not far away from that at all. I mean, a lot of people, we have people here in this neighborhood that never came back home. A lot of people, a lot of first responders. They're saying,
and I forgot his name, I have it written down, that on September 11th, that there was a fireman, and you can watch it. They have a video of it, or a documentary. He went through one of the towers, and when he got to the floor, I think it was the 50-something floor. Every floor, he kept saying everything is good and good and good and safe. When he got to the 78th floor, I think where the plane crashed, he said the 2 fires are detainable, and I think it was the World Trade 7. That had no crash whatsoever.
Okay.
And he was there. He said, we have 2 fires, and it's we're going to knock it out.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the building collapsed. A building that was built to not collapse under a plane crash, that didn't have a plane crash. I understand World Trade Center 1 and 2, but how did this third center collapse?
I mean, that's astonishing.
Interesting.
Yeah, really, like, I mean...
I
just makes you
understand
wonder.
conspiracy theories and all of that. It just bothers me that stuff like this is happening and we're not asking questions.
I think that's the whole thing, just of government. I mean, in 2025, Heshy, you would think that we would be able, with all the technology, all the money, all the things that we know, but I think things are getting worse. I hear more things that drive you nuts than maybe 20 years ago, and it's really it's a shame.
Hey, look,
Yes.
even CNN said that
Communist News Network.
Communist News that said that President Trump has made already up to date 111 executive orders, most ever in a year by a president, or this early in the year, and he's going to pass all the other presidents. And people are very happy with what he's doing with his executive orders.
Well, I think. Listen, like I said, we talked about it last week.
Even the Democrats are saying this.
I don't fully agree with a lot of the tariffs, but I think by and large, what you got with Donald Trump is what you see is what you get.
You don't agree with the tariffs because they're too harsh. But the problem is that if you noticed, China has changed emissaries and are willing to talk to
I did see that yesterday.
Iran, Trump said, we're going to get you if you don't make a deal. You're not getting any nuclear weapons, and now Iran is starting to do direct talks because Iran is scared.
Well, we talked about Iran on last week's show.
We have to be punished because if not, they keep laughing at us. We don't. If you buy a pair of $200, $250 sneakers that are made in America, in China they sell it to us for about $100.
Yeah,
$150.
Yeah.
Now, you're right, American-made product is more money because American workers are more money, American factories. But the problem, what you're not looking in China is they're paying them slave wages. They're letting them
conditions.
the conditions are
I
terrible.
remember years ago, Nike.
So of course they can sell it to us cheaper. Of course. Now with the tariffs, the price is still a bit cheaper, but I'd rather buy an American-made product.
We have to get them made here.
Right.
We have to get them made.
But
here.
you can't buy a product there that if they paid the same labor, if they made the material better than us, but they're not. Some of their products are garbage.
Yeah, well, I think that those are certainly separate issues. I mean, obviously, we'll see how that plays out.
We can pay our people here slave wages, no problem. If I pay slave wages, you'll have a big turnover.
Well,
like
we
over
do have
there.
wage laws.
And they have but they have a billion people there. When somebody doesn't want to work for something, they leave and they replace them in 2 minutes.
Right.
That's what happened in after the early 20s and 30s.
Yes.
You don't want to work, you want to go to the bathroom, no problem, I'll hire a kid. That's when they stopped letting kids work in the factories during the 1920-something fire.
There was that 1927, I think?
A fire that killed a bunch of children.
Chicago,
so they stopped and said, you have to go to school.
Yep, I remember that.
And again, one person left the line for 2 minutes, boom, you were replaced with somebody cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously something to ponder, and there's no question that tariffs, if they have an effect where we can get some of these jobs back,
Well,
great. But
I believe you're right. Not all the tariffs are good, but again, at least it's something we're going to play the game. And,
I think Trump paused.
China says, stop coming back after us. Not a problem, China. Just sit down with us and work this out. Just give us no tariffs.
China, we do.
China doesn't buy anything anymore from us.
China,
just say no tariffs to us and no tariffs to you.
And to me, the big thing, which again, I guess people really must have selective amnesia. We know who caused COVID, right?
We do.
China.
Yeah.
China, and that's a point that they should be certainly handcuffed here or punished in some form because of what they caused and what they caused the world.
But you know what? It was also Fauci was part of it. He knew about it.
Yeah, I mean that's
again, it's like Israel. Israel is a Palestinian state. So let me just tell you something. The Jews that lived in Palestine were Palestinians as well.
Yes.
Their children and grandchildren, but there was only 800,000 of them. Mm-hmm. Now there's 6 million there's 8 million Israelis or 15 million 8 million.
I think it's 8 million
official residents.
Yeah, 8 million.
I mean citizens.
Okay.
Do you know that 2.1 million of them are Palestinians?
Quarter of them.
Quarter of the Israeli citizenship, not people who live. I think there's like 15 million there. Are Palestinians, voting Palestinians. They're Israelis now, Israeli citizens. They have a better life. They run the police force. They run the army. They run the Supreme Court judges.
Yeah.
So don't tell me about what is it? What happened in South Africa? Apartheid. Don't tell us they're being mistreated. Number one, they're Palestinians. The Palestinians voted to change the name of their country to Israel.
Yeah.
Plus, the Israelis were there 2,000 years ago. They were conquered.
Yeah.
And they conquered back. It's like when America was conquered by Britain. You know, they came in and they conquered us, and they wanted to change the name of our country. They would have. But we won back. We fight back. So just because Britain was here first,
we're not going to call ourselves the United Kingdom.
Right,
yeah,
right.
we're not
We're
going to
not calling ourselves English and stuff. Israel won back its freedom. And they were attacked first.
And in Israel, we talk about this all the time, and we're not just saying it because obviously what the listeners think, but objectively speaking, Israel, where they are, they have no choice but to defend themselves because of what they went through. And we've talked about this, they've given so many other people a right to live.
Even Gaza, they gave him a beautiful country.
Yes.
And that's, we didn't leave the West. We left Gaza, we took out everyone.
And we've talked about in Israel, there's a lot of Christians that live in Israel, a lot
Mormons,
of immigrants,
from every country in the world, Filipinos, everything.
Yes, and that's why you should let us know.
Let's go. We talked about our local line.
And if you are here, also HeshyTishler.com, JustinOffHeshy@gmail.com. Let Heshy know what you think. Also,
and you can send me an email to get my pineapple chicken recipe.
And if you want to stop,
it's so good.
I believe you.
I should have brought you a piece today, but it's too early. You know, today there's an extravaganza on the street like yesterday for the
Passover?
street fair that everybody can come for
Okay.
free. Now, usually Carmen Yeager and Simcha Felder try to get their faces stuck in like they're part of it. It was Simcha Eichenstein that tried to do it.
Okay. I did see Eichenstein's posters for it.
And I was behind the scenes. I don't need any credit for it. Okay, but at least this year he didn't give credit to Carmen Yeager because he's now elected for the next.
Well, he's not giving him because he represents further away from our district.
But still, people from all over the place.
Okay.
Even people from Williamsburg, non-Jewish people come. People from Crown Heights, Muncie. Everybody comes to this. We had like 5,000 people there.
Wow.
I went out to collect signatures, but people said they don't sign Passover really.
Yeah, that's kind of dead over here.
And I want you to know, we closed one street, and today it's going to be on 18th Avenue between 53rd and 58th Street, this street extravaganza. And you should all come. Or by the time you hear my show, it's too late. But it's a beautiful event. You should enjoy it, and it's free.
I love hearing, you know what I love hearing sometimes in Borough Park here, the music. The music is always, I always love the music.
So we close down, we get a permit, and we do everything right. Do you know that there's about 12 street closures in Borough Park just driving around? They're towing your cars. And again, we've asked the councilman, the assemblyman, the state senator, hey, can you just tell us what streets to avoid? Can you not close 12 streets at once?
And what did they say?
No response, or they have permits. Speak to them.
Well, you famously, especially with the councilman, know that his office was never open. You famously did videos, man on the street, Heshy on the street, basically showing that his office in Yeager's wasn't open.
They start working at 7 a.m. in the morning. Well, if we try to work before 7:30 or 8, we'll get a violation and a stop work order. These guys can do whatever they want, block any street they want, have no permits.
It's a dictatorship. Are we in the United States of America, Heshy? I don't know.
And I want to tell you something.
All right.
There's a building. I'm going to show you how screwed up the system is.
Okay.
There's a building over here in Borough Park where the building was falling apart.
Okay.
And 3 of the tenants left. And the owner has been trying to raise money for years to fix it up. And the lady on the second floor just keeps suing and blackmailing him money. And he's trying to fix it up. Finally, the building department came and gave a vacate order and said, listen, you got to fix up the apartment. We're telling her to leave.
Okay.
HPD got involved and gave him a vacate order with fines.
Okay.
Fine. He went, he got a set of plans. Till the building department approved it, took a year, and gave him a hard time. We finally got everything right, and he started to fix it up.
Okay.
The lady goes back to court. And HPD says, you got to let her back in the apartment. He says, I can't let you back in the apartment. It's a vacate order.
Right.
If she gets into that apartment during a vacate order, I'll get $10,000 or $20,000 in fines.
Sure.
So the judge says, okay, get the DOB to lift the vacate. They went to DOB. They're calling the court. DOB says, no, HPD has to lift the vacate. HPD says, I'm not lifting the vacate without a DOB inspection. So we go through the process, and it takes us another 2 months to get all the paperwork in, show them the plans, and finish the work only in apartment 2. Forget the other other apartments. We're going to try to get the lady back in.
Right.
Inspector comes down, everything perfect. He writes it in his report.
Okay.
He says, I'm not lifting the vacate because the DOB is not signing off the job. But you're the DOB. We're showing you the apartment is ready and finished and completed and followed per plan. Just give us a partial vacate to the HBD. So we went back to court and we told it to the judge. Judge says, we don't care. You got to let her back in or we're giving you a fine. I said, we can't let her back in because the DOB doesn't let her back in.
This is the red tape.
Finish the whole building. I said, but we're trying to finish the building, but you told us to finish that one first.
Yeah.
And this is the game that they play and they don't care. I have a property where the DEP came to the property.
Okay.
We got a report that there's no asbestos and we want to knock down the shed and we want to knock down the building. We seal up the property, we clean up the land, we clean it well. The DEP says, I want to get in, and we're going to give you a stop work order. We said there's no work going on. He gets onto the property. We let him on. By himself, usually I'm there, but it's right before the holiday.
Yeah.
He gets on, he says, I found samples of dirt on the floor. I says, you couldn't have. I have the property cleaned. He said, I found the sample. An hour later, he calls me, you have asbestos. I said, it's not possible. It takes us 3 days to get a report through the DEP laboratory and forms. How did you do it in an hour? He gives a stop work order. He says, you got to get a new report and hire a person. He emails me yesterday, holiday's over. I said, the holiday's not over. We can't hire anybody, and the property's clean and we're not working there. I said it's an outside area anyway, so there's no asbestos.
Yeah.
And it must have been a small piece.
This sounds like somebody's trying to.
No, this is what they
fix
do.
it in.
They
Yeah.
screw you.
It's
That's why when the DEP came to my building for dust control.
What did you say at the very beginning of the show? And I've heard you. We've done a lot of shows together over the last 2 years.
Inspector Ho. We're going to sue you, Inspector
But
Ho. Don't worry.
what it comes down to, you use the line about red tape.
Yeah.
And
we're not listening to your stop work orders.
And
you can give us fines.
but that
you
red
can do whatever you
tape-
want. You can call because the police is not going to enforce. I used to think the police could enforce. Take us to court, sue us. By the time you're ready, we'll have the building down.
Well, speaking of which, there's this whole fight right now about battery storage sites in Staten Island.
I don't have a problem with the battery storage sites. Not in a residential neighborhood.
That's
go
the problem.
down to First Avenue. Go down to empty areas that don't exist.
Red Hook.
Or Red Hook. Or go to Brownsville. We have vacant buildings in the blocks and blocks.
But they're not doing that. What they're doing now is they're putting them in places where they're near schools, house of worship.
Where you can make more money and
people. And it's a big thing right now here in Brooklyn, here in Staten Island.
Yeah.
One guy got arrested just yesterday because he was protesting and they're just doing it. And
I'm going to meet him today. There's a protest tonight as well.
yeah, and then they've been doing them here. Was one on Flatbush Avenue. Was one on McDonald Avenue.
McDonald Avenue is opening up.
You know, and they're putting them in these
They're
places.
doing what everyone, because the community board allows you by these big developers to get money. And I know I'm also was a developer.
Yes.
But I don't bribe. I follow the rules. I follow the code. I go to the community. I speak to the
But
neighbors.
you made a great point about which a lot of these people, and it's not the residents' fault that they don't know the politics, is that the community board, which is by and large controlled by these representatives, whether they're controlled by Ina Vernikoff or controlled by Kalman Yeager.
Ina Vernikoff has no control. She's controlled by them. She's just a dumb, stupid fool.
But she could have made changes in the community board. So all these people, Sam Pirazzolo's another one in Staten Island, and you know, Joe Borelli, all David
They
Carr.
only did this to get bigger jobs afterwards.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing in common, is that these politicians who are all protesting, Michael Novikov and all of them, they could have changed their community board members. Yeah. And they didn't do that.
When I become city councilman, which Felder is now, I'm going to fire the entire city.
Every community board member should be abolished.
Yeah,
they should be fired.
Fired, but
fire them all.
I'll make you $100 bet that Simcha Felder doesn't touch him.
He's good. No, he'll give him lifetime terms. Yeah. Because I'm sure that they supported his campaign. Yeah. They're not going to do it. The community board is really one of the biggest, I think, points of problem that I think our communities face.
We have a community board, a civilian community board, for a reason, and now we're paying them salaries, and of course they are.
And I don't think they should be paid to. I think
nothing.
I think a community board should be a volunteer position that you go in there and you're in it.
You give them $25 I think that's what they get. Some of the, but the head of the community board.
If you want to give him
Barry Spitzer gets 180,000 plus car plus benefits plus
and
offices.
if you want to give a board member a stipend to show up for travel to a meeting, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
The point is, a lot of these community boards, they sit there because they have friends, lobbyists who talk to them.
Yeah, they're in their
trips to
20, 30, 40 years. It's absolutely a disgrace.
Some of them don't live in the neighborhood anymore.
No, and that's not right. And I know that we're going to say goodbye here shortly to some of our listeners.
Before you say goodbye,
I got 30 seconds with
my juicer broke. I don't have any juicer.
So no pineapple juicing coming up.
So I went, I went shopping. I ordered a new juicer.
All right.
And I'm telling you, the Passover shopping between me and my son on Passover, I had to walk back and forth to his house 8 times.
Whoa!
In the cold. And you think he had any feelings to me? He said, "Hi, Pop. You're late."
Whoa!
Yeah.
But it was very cold this past week. I do want to say thank you to our listeners. 102.7 WNEW FM, of course, 1640 JPR AM Miami, Florida. Of course, our flagship WSNR 620 AM. Thank you so much. If you are celebrating, happy Passover, happy Easter. We'll see you back here next Wednesday. And I hope you enjoyed the show. And let us know what you think. JustinoughHeshy@gmail.com and HeshyTistler.com. Thank you so much for
listening to the show.
Absolutely.
By the way, I went to a bar mitzvah this morning.
Okay.
Of a young boy. I had a picture with him that was in the hospital with him when he wasn't well.
Yes,
Today
I remember that.
I
remember that actually. Yes, I do.
They couldn't really serve food because of Passover. They had some nice cake. I never ate a hot cinnamon bun. Did you ever have a hot cinnamon bun?
No, it's fun. I don't think I've ever had a hot cinnamon bun. Never.
This is the first time I had it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't
hot
too hot.
cinnamon
I like it
bun.
burning hot. No, you should try it.
Did it have icing on it?
I think a little
glaze,
like
the glaze.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It wasn't so bad. I'm not a
You have
cinnamon
coffee
man.
with it? You have coffee
I
with
had
it?
coffee, kosher coffee.
Coffee and cinnamon buns a thing. My mother used to like that.
Okay, right. So I'm an old time, but I like
my mother
coffee
was into
with
that.
I like the coffee with matzah. My father used to teach me. Problem is, I'm not allowed to do that for the Passover because then the matzah might rise and turn into bread. So when I was by my son's house for Passover, he says, "Pop, we're changing all the old rules, and instead of not allowing us to eat bread on Passover, we'll allow you to have some form of the not stuff that we don't do." I said, "Who's changing these rules?" He says, "With modern times, 2025, DEI, transgender, I could have matzah in my coffee."
But just real quick, so the hot iced cinnamon bun, none again?
It wasn't that, it's Passover, so I don't think it was that good because we're not allowed to have cake, so it's a fake kind of a cake. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, next week, food reviews more with Heshy.
I want you to know the garbage tickets are bad. They're now giving you garbage tickets for having cans that are out too early, cans that are not out enough. You have so much garbage on Passover, you only have 2 or 3 cans. And you have, for the Passover and with all the guests coming to your house, you have 20, 30 garbage bags. So you got to put out the garbage bags. So the garbage man says, "No, save the garbage for next week." Are you crazy?
They really say that?
Yeah, and then they're looking through the cans that if you threw some extra garbage into your bag, lined by garbage bags.
Okay.
So all they have to do is turn over the can. They won't even lift up the can. They just take the bags out.
But it's garbage, though.
I know.
They're not. You don't want it. They're supposed to take it.
And I got more tickets, and I showed the judge, "Look, I don't have garbage in front of my office. My place is spick and span swept. That it's the store next to me. And, well, $50. I said, "But that's true," and I'm not going to fight $50. But again, I'm fighting a whole block worth of tickets because these guys are just writing stupid tickets. We keep our streets clean. We sweep it up. Like these men jumped into a manhole cover. Did you hear about that? What's that whole thing? These guys walked into a sewer to rob what? To break into somebody's house through a basement? Or they were robbing tools from a sewer?
What's next? I mean, in Staten Island, there was a story that it's called the Kool-Aid guy. He was breaking through a fence, and it was like, I never heard anything about this now. Different, this is how we're in 2025, Heshy. I didn't have these things on my bingo card.
I know. By the way, when you were talking to me before the show, the last thing we're going to bring up is the war in Russia. Russia is ready to make a deal for a full ceasefire.
Yep, and Zelensky wants Trump to show up to Ukraine.
Yeah, you think it's Trump that they tried to kill here? I mean, did even Biden go there? Kamala, I think, went. You don't take a president into a war zone. I mean, you're right. If it was our
His point was that he wants him to see, because then he'll see what people are going through on a day-in and day basis.
Trump sees it. Trump knows it. He gets reports, not like you and me from CNN. He gets real reports. He knows what's going on there. He sees real videos. He sees the hostages live that come to him.
Well, Zelensky's obviously looking for money.
Yeah.
He's looking for money, and that's what it is. And,
By the way, everybody, too bad our Miami people are not listening. I should have said this before. I am flying down tomorrow, Thursday, to Florida in the morning.
You going to WJPR?
I wish. I should have done. I'm flying into Florida. I'm going to be visiting an architect. He's 91 years old.
Mazel tov.
He's very good to us. He's always helped
Hashem,
us.
Baruch Hashem.
He lost his wife a couple of weeks ago.
I'm so sorry.
So he's very depressed. They had to move him from his center to another place.
Oh, man.
And I'm going to go down. I owe him some money. Also, I said, instead of me mailing it to you, because he always has problems with the mail, I'm going to bring it to you. I'm going to pick you up, and I'm going to take you out to a nice kosher meal. He says, how can you take me out on Passover? In Florida now, they have a lot of kosher for Passover restaurants.
Yeah, well, Florida...
No, kosher for Passover. Means you have to rip apart the whole kitchen, change the whole place over, new dishes and everything.
But you have a very big Jewish population.
Right,
Why
and
wouldn't you?
And they charge double for those meals.
Oh, so that means you're going to be paying double.
Yeah.
You're going to be paying triple.
I'm not taking
double and the tip, triple.
Right, and that's why I'm not taking Linda, because I can't afford her to eat there.
Well, obviously, we'll have to
meal
see
is
about
crap.
that. But I do want to also say thank you to all of our YouTube viewers. We have a lot of them that watch our shows. Shauna Sandberg, Black Beauty.
Black Beauty and Hannah.
Well,
you said Shauna.
Shauna, you have Nakjima Divine. She's going to get mad at me.
One more thing I want you all to know. In about a month, you're going to have a new driver's license.
Real
ID.
ID.
You want to recall Real ID to fly on a plane to get and you need to get to the motor vehicles.
I think Trump should stop that, by the way.
I think so, too. Because a regular driver's license, a regular driver's license.
I think Trump should look into that.
One, but it's, anybody who has one, all you have to do is go online. And
May 7th, I think it was the deadline.
So if anybody who doesn't have one and needs an ID, just plain, you need to get 6 points of verification.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you bring a birth certificate or passport, that gets you 4. And if you have a marriage license or a military ID, that gets you 3.
So what do you get the other 2
card
points?
And a bank credit card. No, you can bring the marriage license and your passport.
Okay.
Or you can bring a credit card in your name with the bill and a bank statement. And each of those are 1
But
point.
if I have a credit card, just my physical card,
that's good enough.
Oh,
with the bill, you got to bring a bill to show that the credit card comes to that address, and you have to bring
you said banking. Now, what was the bank
you
qualification?
can bring a bank statement.
Well, what
That's
if?
good
But a
enough.
lot of people now, like me, get all my stuff electronically. So what do you have
You
to?
print it out. It still has your address on it.
I think they should.
And you can also bring, for another point, you can bring your a Con Edison bill or electric bill.
All right.
Okay, and yes, I get that online too. You print it out. And bring your tax returns are no good.
I'm waiting
Try
for
that.
them to see that they can show proof if they watched this week's show. Maybe discount.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for listening.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a great night.
Have
You
a
can
great
catch me
night.
on YouTube at SportsWire Radio 6579. Thank you so much for your support.
Play
Happy
that
Passover and
music.
Happy Easter.
I'm going to play the music for my Instagram people.